Yo, welcome back to the Further Your Lifestyle podcast, conversations on lifestyle, passions, and hustles. My name's Chris Furlong. I am your host, and I'm super excited to be back here having the conversation with you. Episode 60 today, which is a huge milestone, another big celebration, or a small win, I guess, depending on who you are. But I want to just say a quick thank you. Once again, I appreciate you being part of this journey, being part of this podcast, whether you're a listener, whether you've been here from day one, or maybe you've just stumbled upon this podcast. Go check out some of the other episodes. But today, what we are talking about, and that is, I want to chat to you about happiness. And it's one of those conversations which happens a lot. It's very cliche, but it can also be a very simple conversation. And that's why I want to dive into it. But regardless being simple, complicated, or cliche, it's a very important conversation. I feel it's a very important conversation because over the last week, I've been reflecting on a few things. I've had a few conversations with different people, and happiness has been a really key part of that. And I think, why not talk to you guys or whoever's listening about this and see if it can resonate with you, because it's definitely resonated with me. So we're going to dive into that. And I guess, as I said, I could probably actually make this very, very simple if I wanted to. And by doing that, I could ask you this simple question: are you happy? And if you were to answer, you would respond simply with yes or no, maybe. You might go into a bit more, but hypothetically, it'll either be yes or no. And I can say, so why not, if you answered no, and basically I could leave it up to you to figure out. But what I want to ask you today is this question, and then dive into it a little deeper. I actually want to have the conversation with you and play it out in case you are saying no and in case you are saying yes, and see what this potentially could mean. Now, of course, this is from my own understanding, this is from my own perspective, and I guess opinions at the same sense, but at the end of the day, I'm here to have the conversation with you, and if you do want to chat about it, let's chat about it. But otherwise, I want to ask you this question and then dive into it a little deeper, because I think it's very important that we do have the conversation. And maybe it will help you work through some deeper thinking behind it, and maybe it will lead you to understanding why you're not feeling happy. And that's essentially why I want to help you dive in a little deeper and help you also understand what is driving your happiness, so you can make that be a more common element in your life. So will you do this with me? Will you go through this process? I guess follow along, and hopefully you'll discover a little bit more about your happiness or maybe lack of happiness. So let's do this. Let's get into it, right? And so let me ask you this. Right now, as you are listening, I need you to answer this question. And you might have to stop. You might have to think about it. But seriously think about, are you happy? Right? Like, seriously, think about this. Like, have you been smiling today? Are you happy with how you started the day? Are you happy with how the day went? Are you feeling frustrated about anything? Is anything annoying you? Are you really happy, or are you just telling yourself you are? Are you really happy, or are you just telling yourself you are? And think about this. Think about it a bit more and really digest it. If you need to pause it, do that as well. But when we start to really think about what's been, itching at us, what's been frustrating us, or maybe something hasn't and we're feeling really great, and that's really, really good. But I need you to answer this to yourself if you are not, or if you are happy. And if you are not happy, that's what we're going to dive into first. And let's find out why. Why are you not happy? What's driving it? What is causing it? What is making you feel this way? And how can we change it? How do we take back control? So I'm going to ask you, why do you feel unhappy? Is it the frustration? Is it annoyance? Is it disappointment? Is it maybe you feel stuck? Are you angry with someone, or do you just feel down? Do you feel low? Maybe it's a lack of motivation. Maybe you're feeling tired. Maybe things aren't going as planned, or maybe things aren't what you expected by this time, or maybe you're getting stuck with comparing to others. What is it? Which is it? And it could be a whole bunch of these, and maybe it's not all of these. And some of these are not always to do with happiness in itself. It's actually to do with other things which then make you feel unhappy or just frustrated, or, all those different things that I've just said. But we really need to understand what's driving this. And I think we can start to tap away or chip away at different things that help us get closer to what that is. And the first thing is, we need to identify what is in your control versus what is not in your control. Through all things annoying you, all things frustrating you, and things that are making you feel unhappy, can you control any of these? Like, are the things that are causing this or making you feel this way, are they in your control, or are they out of your control? Now, the simple answer to this is, if they are out of your control, you need to be rid of them. they're irrelevant. There is no point trying to waste your time, or I guess waste any time in trying to figure these out, or trying to solve these, or trying to get mixed up in them, because you can't do anything about it. You are better off dropping them and pushing them away and spending that energy elsewhere. Now, if you can take action on something, if you do have the ability to take control or to regulate something or to pivot or to just, take control of a situation, then you need to ask yourself, well, what can you do about it today? Right? And I think it's going to come down to one of these things. Do you need to have a tough conversation? Do you actually need to do some work? Like, do you actually have to put in some work and take action? Do you need to stop procrastinating? Maybe it's as simple as you need to set a plan to then take some actions. The list will go on, but I think those 4 are probably the top areas which I feel like is usually the things that we need to handle with. Sometimes the tough conversation can be with ourselves. It might be with a friend, a family member, a loved one, or your boss, or someone that maybe, you don't like having that confrontation with. And sometimes we know we need to step out of our comfort zones and take action or do action. And sometimes it can be scary, so we procrastinate, we push back, we make excuses. Well, sometimes we just need to put it down on paper and figure out what do we actually need to be doing, what do we actually want. And as I said, the list goes on, but those I think are going to be the key ones. And we tend to make a lot of excuses and we blame it on those things above, or we blame it on the whole scenarios of, I wish this would change, or I wish that would happen, or if I can only do this if that happens. Well, once again, can you actually control some of these things? But even more so, and this is where it gets interesting, if these things were out of the picture, if these excuses, these things that you say you need to have done or achieved before you can move forward, if they were completed, if they weren't in the picture, if they were fixed, if they were not a problem, would you still be happy? I think a lot of the time is we don't actually know what the root of the problem is that's annoying us, that's frustrating us, that's making us feel unhappy. And I think you'll find if we start to left click a bit more or dig a little deeper, that the things that are frustrating us, the things that are making us feel unhappy come down to money, time, free time, work-life balance, our work situation, our working situation, our relationships, our friendships, our hobbies or lack of hobbies, our health, our fitness, our food intake. All these drive our happiness. And there's more as well. There's physical, there's spiritual, and so on and so forth. But all these different areas drive our happiness. And what else drives our happiness, and sometimes more than what we know, is purpose. Because a lot of the time, all these things are framing back into what we want or where we're going. If you know what your purpose is, what you want to be doing, you know that you need a certain amount of money. You don't need all the money in the world. You just need something to keep you going. You need something to keep you funded. You need an element of money in your space. You know how much time it's going to take and how much free time you need. You understand that it's going to require a work-life balance. And sometimes that means more work or less work or whatever it may be. You know that when you have a purpose, the relationships and how important they're going to be for you. You understand the importance of hobbies. You understand health and what that looks like. I think when we have purpose, it starts to put all these things into perspective. It helps us see the importance of them and how they can help us move forward and essentially enable us to be happy. So if you can figure out what your purpose is, where are you going, what are you wanting, what are you doing, then that will start to help drive the happiness. I'm serious about this, is sometimes we have to stop and we have to refresh ourselves and we need to ask ourselves the question, what I'm doing right now, is this going to get me closer to where I want to be in 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever you've set in terms of your vision and goal. But you need to check yourself. If you're working a job and you have an idea you want to run your own business, you want to be a business owner, you want to have people working for you. But if you're not doing anything within your realm of time in terms of your weekly time, your day, whatever, that is going to actually get you closer to that goal, then you're probably not going to be actually happy. You might think you're happy because you're getting money, you're working a job, you feel secure, and you're saying, oh no, you need to do this before you can do that. But you can actually be doing things that's getting closer to your purpose, getting you closer to where you want to be. That job might actually be getting you closer. It might be getting you the experience and the industry knowledge that you need to then go to that next level. But if it's got nothing to do with where you want to be, then you need to have a hard, tough conversation with yourself and actually see, is this what you want? right? And this is real. This is raw. This is the reality of it. You see, you can have lots of money. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're not doing what you love, you won't be happy. You can have less money and be doing what you love, and I guarantee you will be happy. I guess the whole reality of this is there's no secret sauce to all of it. It's kind of like, other than asking yourself these questions and be willing to, I guess, make a change or adapt or change, adapt or pivot or take ownership of what you want, then nothing's going to change. Thus, it means you need to be able to be willing to have a tough conversation with yourself or with someone. You actually need to be willing to do the work. You need to stop procrastinating, and you need to set a plan, and you need to take some actions. That's the reality of it. And then you need to play that back into the realms of, what do you want? What is your purpose? Where do you want to be? Now, if you don't know what your purpose is, let's have that conversation. And I've got some episodes talking about, what's your end game, what's your vision, what's your North Star. You can listen to those. But this is a tough conversation, and I'm not here to say that what you're doing is wrong. I'm not here to say that you need to be reevaluating everything. What I'm saying is, are you feeling happy? And let's dig a little deeper. Sometimes it might be you've just had a bad day and you need to have a conversation with someone. But sometimes as we dig deeper, we realize that there is a lot of things a lot deeper and a lot rooted to that come back to our purpose. And that's really what I wanted to say. So let me recap it. Are you happy? No? What is making you feel this way? Can you control it? If you can't control it, don't waste your time on it. If you can control it, what will you do about it? What will you change? What can you do about it? How will you get closer to where you want to be, which is your happiness goal? And ideally, understand what your purpose is. Are these things getting you closer to that purpose? And do the things you love. Make sure that is incorporated in where you're going. And that will help you be happy. Now, if we turn it over, if we do the whole flip side, and let's say at the start of this conversation, I asked you, are you feeling happy? And you say yes. Yes, you are. Well, let's capture this. Let's make sure we understand, why are you feeling happy, so that when you are feeling maybe not happy, you can come back to this and make sure you can get yourself back into position, back on that straight path in being happy. So you need to write some things down, and you might need to stop what you're doing, and you might need to pause what you're doing, but you need to write this down. And what is it, the situation, the people, the environment, what is it, or what things put you into the flow of happiness? And what I mean by that is, what makes you smile? What makes you feel alive? What makes you feel in your element? Or where do you feel at peace? What are the places that help you feel this way? Who is it? Who are the people? What relationships make you feel happy, that you're at your best self? What is it? Things? Is it, things that you're able to interact with? What are they? You need to identify them now. Write them down. I'm not joking. Write them down and figure out what gets you into this flow state of feeling happy. You need to think about a time that you were feeling at your peak happiness, that there was no other worry in the world. What was this? When was this? Why was this? And what were the factors? Write these down. Write them down so you can understand, you can revisit them. It's like when you're sitting on Facebook and scrolling and you get the little memories pop up and you go back to 1 year, 2 years, 7 years, and there's a lot of cringe moments and you think, what was I thinking? But then there's moments of, I remember this. This was great. And you reflect on it and it makes you feel good. This is kind of what we're doing. So having these, having them written down, but then when you are struggling, you can go back to these and they can help bring you back to the reality of where you want to be. Back on course in helping you get back will be key, right? And that's why you want them. It's not always going to be that way. You're not always going to be happy. Sometimes you will need a nudge. Sometimes you will need some help. Sometimes you'll need a reminder, getting back on track. And I think one thing that is true though is happiness will always be greater than the idea of happiness. They are present and not in the distant. And what I mean by this is, there's a point in time as in now. You're either happy or you're not. And you can be looking at all these things. You can be seeing all those things, whether it's going shopping and buying something, or saying, once I get this, I'll be happy. These ideas of happiness, we tell ourselves this to make us feel happy in the moment, but they're just fake. It's not really actually getting to the core of the problem. We need to step back and go back up to the steps before and actually figure out what's causing that unhappiness. And it's not about putting a band-aid on it. You actually want to make sure you're really healing it up. You always need to make sure that, it's not an idea of happiness, but you are feeling happy. You will always have moments which make you feel happy. So these are key to know when they were, what they are, and what are the triggers. So then when you do get into those sticky situations, you can get back into your happiness flow. You see, I once thought happiness was chasing the stereotypical rat race. And once again, I want to be very clear that I'm not here to, I'm not against people working 9 to 5s and corporate jobs and things like that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I did that. I got a secure job, I got a solid income, I was getting promoted, I was, wanting to buy a house, wanting to get married, all that jazz. The typical things that majority of us follow and do. And that's okay. But as I was doing this more and more and doing more work, I guess, in the back of my mind, I had all these dreams, goals, and ambitions. And I started to realize that, unless I'm starting to work on those, nothing's going to change. And I'm working, I'm getting promoted, and, I was getting money to help me feel closer to making these ideas possible. But I wasn't executing. I wasn't taking action because I didn't have the time. So I was kind of in this rut of feeling happy because, you get paid or someone compliments you, you get promoted, but it wasn't really the true happiness I was looking for. Now that I am in my zone, in my element, doing what I want, working towards my North Star, working towards where I want to be in everything that I'm doing, now I earn less, but I have more time. I can create my own day. I get to do anything or everything that I want. And those are all closer to my end goals. They're all closer to my dreams and ambitions. And those ambitions and goals might change. But at the end of the day, I am doing what I want to be able to be and, what I want in this life. And stepping closer to that each day, I can look back, I can reflect at the end of each day and say, am I happy with today? And I know I can say yes. Now, if I don't, I can start to dive in what went wrong. And maybe was I distracted? Maybe I just had a conflict. Maybe, you are going to have bad days. Maybe I didn't hit a sales target. Maybe I didn't get enough, people interacting with the podcast. Those things do help us feel sad. I'm not saying that you have to be perfectly happy all the time. That's not going to be realistic. But, I can actually start to dive down and see where it is quite easy. Now, there is one thing that I want to kind of share, which is kind of like a tip or trick. And I guess if there is ever a moment of doubt for myself, what I like to do is I come back to asking myself, what am I grateful for? And instantly, I am reminded that I am in control. That I have everything I need and I can change the narrative of the story anytime. And I think that's the difference is, as I said before, I can clearly identify where the problems are is because I've gotten rid of the things that I can't control and I've got majority of the stuff I can control. So when things aren't figuring out in the way I want them to be, whether it is coming from I'm not hitting a target, maybe I had, an argument with someone, I can identify these pretty quick. And it's taken me a while to do this. It's taken me last year to figure out, to be able to tap into those things. And I'm trying to be more open to it, own it more, and be vulnerable to it because these things help me steer the right course of where I want to be going. Now, to be 100% honest, I'm not here to say that I got it all figured out either. Like, I clearly don't. But what I can say is that I figured out what I want, and I'm doing that. Therefore, I am happy. And I know how to bring myself back to reality if I'm, falling off that happiness path. And I really, that all I want is to be able to help other people, find this happiness too. And if you think you're happy, that's great. And if you know you're happy, that's even better. And I think the key thing is, if you are happy, write it down, understand what it is, know what it is, visualize it, have it in place so that when you do stuff up, when things don't go as planned, you can do exactly what I said. You can check yourself with, a gratitude check, but also you can play it back and say, okay, well, it's not all these things because those things are out of my control. And it's not all these things because I have control of those. What areas in your life are making you feel unhappy? So I feel like it's been quite a deep conversation. We've kind of dived into it and there's a lot here. And at the end of the day, it is about being happiness. There's no right or wrong way to figure out your happiness. This is what's been working for me. And I would love to encourage more people that if you are feeling down, if things aren't going as you planned, the best thing you can probably do is actually talk to someone. You can do all these steps and they will help, but have a conversation with someone. If you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like you're not going where you want to be, if you've got these ideas but you don't know how to blossom them, let's have the conversation. Reach out. You can hit me up on Instagram at Further Your Lifestyle or drop me a message on Twitter. You can tweet me hello@furtheryourlife, or send me an email, hello@furtheryourlifestyle.com. I want to have the conversation with you. I would love to hear more about what you're trying to do, what you want to achieve, where you want to be, or what you're struggling with. I want to hear your struggles to see if I can help you, to see if I can encourage you, and work together in helping you get out of that rut. That's 100% honestly all I want to do. I want to help you further your lifestyle, right? And further your life. So if that sounds like you and you do want to chat, do reach out. Hey, I've even left a little link below. If you want to reach out, you can send me a little message. If you want to drop an anonymous message to me and you don't want to reveal who you are, you can do that. You can drop it down. There's a little form that you can fill out and you can ask a question, or you can reveal yourself. That's fine too. But please have the conversation. Follow these steps, see if that can work for you in helping you getting out of a rut and, actually asking some of the tough questions. It will require you to do some tough work and have that self-awareness. But I think it's super important that we come back to this. And I have to come back to it to myself on a regular basis as well. Really do appreciate you being here. If you've got any questions, more than happy to answer. And if you want to continue the conversation, you can leave a comment, reach out as I just said. Otherwise, you have a wonderful day. Cheers. Now, if you didn't know, we do have the podcast merch, and this is with a key focus of enamel pins. Now, if you haven't checked these out, make sure you do, because the intent of these are really just to be a small token and a reminder for you to charge on, to push on, and to further your lifestyle. Whether it is a gift for someone else to encourage them, or maybe to inspire them, or maybe it's a way to motivate yourself, or you can simply just make a purchase to simply support the podcast, which would be greatly appreciated. We do also have some sweaters and some long tees, so make sure you check it out. Link in the description and in the show notes. Really do appreciate it. Cheers.